Hey everyone, welcome. So today we are diving deep into one of the most hypnotic creatures in the ocean, the torch coral. I mean, just look at it. It's a living jewel, right? It sways with the currents, it's got these incredible colors, but what is it exactly? Well, that's what we're here to figure out. Seriously, when you look at this, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For me, it looks like some kind of underwater flower from another planet. It moves, it's alive. Is it a plant? Is it an animal, or maybe some weird, beautiful mashup of the two? And here's the wild part. It's not one thing. What you're looking at is a colony, a whole bustling community of tiny little animals called polyps, all working together as one. You can almost think of it like a high-rise apartment building, where all the residents are clones, building this shared skeleton from the reef up. Okay, so now that we know what we're looking at, a whole city of animals, let's go explore where it lives. We're going to take a trip to its home turf, the gorgeous, vibrant reefs of the Indo-Pacific, to see how this incredible colony actually makes a living out there. Now, before we get too far, we need to understand its morphology. And don't worry, that's really just a fancy sciencey word for its physical shape and structure, its biological blueprint. So let's break down how a torch coral is actually built. All right, let's get into the anatomy. Each of those soft tube-like things you see is an individual animal, a polyp. And they have these amazing, long tentacles that flow out into the water, basically like tiny fishing nets trying to catch any bit of food that drifts by. The whole colony is anchored by this thick, stony skeleton that's both its home and its armor. And those unbelievable colors? Oh, we're definitely getting to that next. And this right here is one of the coolest partnerships in nature. Living inside the coral's tissue are these algae called zooxanthellae. The easiest way to think about them is as tiny, live-in, solar-powered chefs. They soak up sunlight, make food through photosynthesis, and then share all that energy with the coral. And what does a coral do in return? It gives them a safe place to live. It's an absolutely perfect arrangement. So what does the perfect address for a torch coral look like? Well, you'd find it in the warm, clear waters of the Indo-Pacific, usually hanging out on reef slopes. It needs just the right amount of sunlight, to keep those little chefs working. And it loves a nice, moderate current to bring it dinner and wash away any waste. It's all about finding that perfect, delicate balance. Okay, now let's make a big jump. We're going from the massive, super stable ocean to the four walls of a home aquarium. And let me tell you, trying to copy that perfect, natural balance, it is a huge challenge. You're basically trying to build and maintain a whole miniature ecosystem inside a glass box. And this slide really nails the problem. The ocean, it's got almost infinite stability. Everything is consistent. In a fish tank, the aquarist has to become the ocean. You've got to use specialized lighting to act as the sun, pumps and power heads to create currents, and you are constantly testing and dosing to maintain that super delicate water chemistry. And the absolute key word here is stability. For a torch coral, big, sudden changes are its mortal enemy. Just a tiny swing in temperature or salinity, or a dip in the calcium it needs to build its skeleton, that can cause massive stress. It'll pull in its beautiful polyps, and it can be the beginning of the end. These four things you see here, they're totally non-negotiable. And it's not just about the water either. Those long, beautiful tentacles can pack a pretty nasty sting, so you've got to give them plenty of personal space away from their neighbors. And just like the water, any changes to their environment, like the lighting or the flow, have to be done super slowly. And maybe the most important thing of all, a responsible hobbyist always thinks about where their coral came from in the first place. And that brings us to the bigger picture here. Because the story of the torch coral, it's not just about what happens in our aquariums. It's totally connected to the health of our planet's oceans and the future of every wild reef out there. So out in the wild, corals reproduce a couple of ways, asexually through budding and also sexually. In the aquarium world, hobbyists can actually copy that asexual process through something called fragging. You can carefully cut a small piece off the main colony, and that little piece will grow into a whole new colony. And this is huge because every single coral that's grown in a tank is one that doesn't have to be taken from a fragile wild reef. And that conservation part is just so critical right now. Wild torch coral populations are under an incredible amount of pressure. On one side, you've got the demand from the aquarium hobby, which can lead to overcollection. And on the other side, their entire home is being threatened by pollution, climate change, and habitat loss. So they're really getting hit from both sides. But there is some good news, and it really comes down to one word: responsibility. When hobbyists choose to buy sustainably grown corals and commit to reef-safe practices at home, they stop being just consumers. They actually become conservationists. The aquarium community really has the power to be a huge force for good in preserving the very ecosystems they love so much. So, all of this leaves us with a really important question. A torch coral is living, breathing art. But its beauty creates this tough dilemma. How can we admire and even own a piece of nature's masterpiece without helping to erase it from the wild? Finding that balance, well, that's a challenge for every single one of us.